It's such a wonderful thing to actually finally be live and just to be with you today. So I'm going to be actually just taking you through, just final exam preparations. Okay, and for those of you who obviously have not subscribed, please just make sure that you are part of the family. And of course, you can tell as many people about this particular segment. So, for these exam preparations, I will be actually doing a lot of these live sort of sessions. Today I couldn't connect my board, and as a result, it will be somewhat interactive. So I will actually be taking your questions. I'll just look at the comments and so on and so forth. But before I start with your questions, okay, I wanted for us tonight to kind of just talk about some things that you need to avoid, particularly for those of you who will be writing the IEB exam, okay, tomorrow. In fact, this applies for everyone, but obviously I did this. Good evening, Litabo. Right, and good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to just mention a few things that I just thought that we will, they are important for, your preparation for the exam. And these 5 things that I really, really think will help you to avoid losing marks in your exam. Right. So the first thing that I want you to, just to avoid, it's one of those pitfalls that will cause you to lose marks when it comes to your exam. Hello, Noma. It's for you calling me Malume. Okay. So the first thing is you need to start, or rather, avoid starting with the multiple choice. Okay. Now, think about it. I want you to just consider this for a moment. Multiple choice has got twists and turns, and sometimes you might actually find yourself, sort of, in a way, spending more time than you should, when it comes to multiple choice section. So try to avoid, answering the multiple choice section first. Not unless you are very fluent with it. You've actually tried out a lot of multiple choice questions and you are particularly good at it. Otherwise, I would say to you, just try to avoid, maybe just try and answer the multiple choice section last. I've never actually told some of you that I actually repeated my Matric because the first time around I wrote my maths and science, I did not do so well. And, when I realize, or rather when I look at the difference between when I wrote the first time and the second time around, the real difference was that I was more strategic the second time around than I was the first time, So I would say to you, please, make sure that you strategize around your exam. So don't start with the multiple choice section if you find yourself having challenges with that particular section. Okay, right. So that's pitfall number 1. Pitfall number 2 is don't start, or rather don't answer the higher order questions. So there are those questions. I've been trying in the past few days to publish some IEB exams, okay? And I particularly choose those higher order questions, that I feel like, would require a bit of thinking in terms of just answering. Please make it a point that, I call it the 10-second rule, okay? Make it a point that when you answer those questions, okay, you don't spend more time than you should. So please, on those higher order questions, if it's a 5-mark question, let's say for argument's sake, make it a point that you allocate the appropriate time necessary for that particular question. Otherwise, then you run the risk, of not, answering the questions that you probably would have gotten right. And so what happens? You lose marks on the higher order questions, but you also lose potential marks on the questions that you could have answered correctly. So I would say to you, please try and avoid answering for argument's sake, we love you. Thank you. All right. I will try to connect my board in the future so that I can take your questions live. Okay. Right. And then I said please just make sure that you don't spend, an unnecessary amount of time on, those higher order questions, right? So your big mark questions, please just try to make sure that you allocate the time necessary. Now, the third thing that I wanted to also mention is, at this point, you probably know the sections that you are more familiar with or you are more comfortable with. So I would say to you, when you go into the exam tomorrow or whenever it is that you're going to be writing, just make it a point that you spend time, or rather you start with those questions that you are confident in. For instance, if you know that momentum is your favorite section and you really do well in it, start with momentum, okay? There's no rule against starting with a particular section for the exam, okay? And then just something else that I wanted to you to consider is, spend more time on don't spend more time on a question than what is required. I think I've already covered that. Okay, I see a question saying, how do I master acids and bases? I will talk about that in just a few. And by the way, I have also just made sure that, there's an entire playlist on it. Okay, I'll talk about that just now. And then also just the last thing that I want to say before I, go to your questions is, just budget your time appropriately. So you're writing a 3-hour exam. Okay, so that 3 hours really is critical. So make it a point that there's actually a matrix that you can use, or a calculation that you can use. Essentially, what it means is that for every mark, you should spend around 1 minute and about 20 seconds. In fact, 1 minute and 16 seconds to be quite precise. But now, please just make it a point that you spend, or rather you budget your time appropriately. So if it's a 20-mark question, for instance, I would advise you to try and complete it within 20 minutes, okay? So that at the end of the, when you are done with the questions, you still have time to spare, on those particular sections that you probably found to be more difficult. Okay, and just the last thing that I just want to say, I've tried to really make information as readily available as possible. All right, so please go through my playlists. For those of you who are struggling with chemistry, for instance, just make sure that you the first point of call, I would say to you, start with my stoichiometry section. Okay, the stoichiometry section comprises, I think, of 4 videos. I know sometimes, they may seem kind of long, but in you can even play it at 1.5 speed or even 2 times the speed. But please just make it a point that you watch that first, so that you can be able to answer questions on stoichiometry. All right, I wish I could interact with you, live, so that I could hear you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at some of the questions here. I'll go through them and see what are the, okay, so let me look at the questions. Right. Okay, so, all right, so see, okay, this is the dopest video ever. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, right. Is the previous case mark added? Okay, so this is a question from Refense. Refense is asking, hi, sir, is the previous case mark added when you are upgrading? Yes, it is, unfortunately. But, I would say to you, Refense, please don't focus on what you don't have control over, okay? At this moment, remember that one thing that you have control over is what's going to happen on the day of the exam. So right now, forget about what's going to happen at the marking center, what's going to happen, with the case mark and so on. You just focus on your battle. Your battle is with you and the question paper on the day of the exam. So please don't worry yourself about case marks and all of that. You don't have control over that, but you do have control over, what happens on that day of the exam. All right, I see another question here. How do I revise mechanics, especially Newton's laws, for me to pass? That's Odia. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, and I'm going to try and just answer questions as much as I possibly can. Please just make it a point that when you answer questions, okay, or rather when you revise, as I said, I do have videos on Newton's laws. I know they may seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, I mean, you only have one shot at the exam. So what is, just spending an hour or two, just going over those videos? As I said, you can even play them at twice the speed. I explain them so well that I think anyone can be able to understand that content. So please, Odia, just make it a point that you just go through those that playlist. Go to the playlist section and just make sure that you watch that particular segment. Okay. All right, and I see a question here. I think, okay, relax and chill. I'm not sure. It says, can you please provide a video on how to prove a quad? All right. So the next week, I will be focusing on paper 2. So please just note, I will be publishing paper 2 on a daily basis. So paper 2 questions. So just make it a point that you look at that. In the past week, I've been focusing on physics, so I'll make sure that next week, you have resources on revision for paper 2. But I would say for now, please just make sure that you go to also my maths, my geometry playlist. Okay, just go through that and just make sure that you understand your theorems as much as possible, and then obviously it will be better once I start going through that revision. Okay, all right. And then the next question is the topic of fertilizer still on the syllabus? The simple answer is no. So please don't even waste your time on that. Fertilizers are no longer part of the syllabus. They are trimmed out. Okay, how do I answer multiple choice, sir? Okay, I'd say to you, please try and watch my videos. Okay, there's a playlist called revision section. I think revision playlist, something like that. Okay, go and watch. I've done several past exam questions on multiple choice, and I show you how to answer, especially those difficult ones. So just make sure that you also watch that. Okay. Should you practice past papers from other provinces? That's Clarissa. Okay. From past provinces that have more difficult questions, or practice past papers from your own province. Look, to be quite honest with you, Clarissa, I would say to you, look, revision is revision. So take every and any form of resource that you can use at this stage. I think anything will do for now. I would advise, before you write your exam, it would be quite wise for you to actually go through all the past exam question papers. But if you don't have enough time, obviously my videos would be the best go-to place, So I would say to you, yes, that would be a very good thing to do. But if you don't have enough time, of course, you can just do the videos and then just obviously try and do as many question papers as you can. If you can do one, well, then so be it. Okay. Right. Can you please provide a video on how to, so this is Luke, okay. It says, can you please provide a video on how to answer in simultaneous equations in electrical circuits and electrostatics in KZN September 2022. Okay, Luke, if you can, I'll try to see if I can source this question paper, but if you do have this question paper in PDF form, please send it to my email address. The email address is info@mlungisinkosi.co.za. Okay, please just make it a point that you send it to me, and yeah, let's see what you can do in the coming weeks. Okay, right. Sir, you should share your banking details so that we can donate. I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, for your sincere kindness to me. I have basically given of my life, to try and help you guys as much as possible. And just the gesture, just the mere comment that you are making, for me, just is really, really something that I appreciate. I will do that on my website probably in future, but there is a feature on YouTube called Super Thanks. Okay, so if you do want to make a contribution, you can use that feature on YouTube, okay, called Super Thanks. You can decide any amount that you'd like to give. Obviously, I don't compel anyone, but you do so out of the love of from your heart, okay? Right, and thank you so much. Yeah, I'm trying to see the name here. The comments are going quite fast. Okay, it's Tamsanga. Okay, thank you so much, Tamsanga. All right, is it normal that I have so much anxiety about my last math exam next week, even though I practice every day? Yes, it is normal. Okay. Now, the only way for you to deal with anxiety, okay, you know what, you cannot you cannot get rid of the anxiety, but you can only manage it, okay? And the only way is preparation, okay? So prepare. So I would say to you, try and simulate the exam settings as much as possible. So what am I saying? I'm saying prepare yourself for the exam by sitting for the exam, creating an exam environment. So sit in front of a question paper that you have not done, okay? And then what I ask you to do is, just go through that question paper, just answer as many questions, in fact, answer the full question paper within 3 hours, and thereafter mark yourself. You'll see that the more that you are able to get right, the calmer you become, right? But also when you get into the exam, as I said to you, even for those who are writing IEB tomorrow, start with things that you already know that you are confident with, because you know what it does? What it does is it helps you settle into the exam, and it will help you to calm down. Okay, the more that you get things correct, or the more that you realize that you are familiar with the questions and so on, the more it helps you to actually just calm down and relax eventually. Okay, but you cannot necessarily get rid of the anxiety altogether. Okay, right, so let me check. Can I study all night before? Can I study can I study the all night before? Okay, so I suppose you wanted to ask whether you can study the night before. look, I would strongly advise when you're going to write the next day, for those of you who are writing tomorrow, please, I'd say for me, I'd say the cutoff time is 10 o'clock. Okay. Make sure that you get yourself good, proper sleep. All right. Make sure that you are rested as much as possible. And when you go into the exam, I know it's slightly problematic, but please do drink water, okay? Because you want to get electrolytes into your brain, right, and so that your brain can function optimally. So make sure that you take as much water as possible. Of course, you don't also want to go to the loo frequently, because obviously that heightens your anxiety as well. But do take a sufficient amount of water for you to be able to keep yourself hydrated. Okay. Right. Studying the night before, I would say to you, please, that's an absolute no-no. But I've seen, I mean, when I look at the analytics on the channel, you guys are quite busy the night before, even to the point of studying towards the early hours. I've heard people, when having studied the night before, or did what they call cross-nighting. I've heard someone once upon a time say that they blanked out. And that's quite normal because you are pushing your brain beyond, the boundaries of what it actually should go through, right? So I would say to you, please, if you can at all, if you can avoid it, please prepare well, all right? And just try to study, in time, so that you're able to do well for your exam, okay? Right, so let me look at some more questions. All right. Biggest concern is paper 2. All right. I think I've already answered that. We will be covering that. Muchidzi, right? Sorry, obviously I cannot spell some of the names as fluently, but I will try my best. Do fertilizers chapter available? Do fertilizers chapter available for physics science IEP? At the moment, no. To answer it in simple terms, no. So, sir, at the marking center, would they mark me wrong for using a different method that's not in the memo? Yet the answer is correct. Look, so this is either one of two things. So if the answer is correct, but you were too creative in a sense that, you use the method that's not mathematically sound, of course, they would answer it incorrectly. I mean, they would mark it incorrectly. But in this case, of course, if you did come up with something that's quite innovative or a unique way of answering a question, and you've applied all the principles correctly, obviously that will be considered. Okay, it is quite a process in marking, so all of that process, by the way, is considered. Okay. Right. Please tell them. I see Nova Kale says, don't do all-nighters, guys. Right. Yes, I do agree with that. Okay. May you please do past papers with memo? I have been doing so. Just please go through, guys, I would advise you, please go through this channel. It's got all the resources that you can possibly need. Of course, I'm still going to add some more resources on mathematics, but for now, please allow me to talk about physical science, because most of you are, or rather many of you are writing tomorrow. Okay, Malume, please go do a rundown for paper 1. It's currently approaching very quickly. All right, I will do so. As I said, I will be having so many of these live sort of videos. Okay, in some of them, I will actually, you can send through questions or things that you've been suggesting. Okay, I will actually have my interactive board, and I will actually go through the questions with you live as you ask. Okay, right. All right. Kelvin says, what happens if my SBA mark is higher than my exam mark or vice versa? Okay, so your SBA mark, remember, constitutes of 25%. So in this case, it's really a non-issue. But if, I've heard that if your final exam is significantly higher than your SBA mark, then they do actually, discard your SBA mark in a sense. So, for instance, if you get 100% for your final exam in physical science, then they will discard your SBA mark. Okay. Do you have any advice and last minute hacks for paper one? Yes. So I would say to you, if you look at paper one in physical science, right? Please just make sure that you understand Newton's laws. Okay, that's a significant amount. In fact, I would say to you, make sure that the first section that you really make sure that you understand would be the mechanics section. So that would be Newton's laws, that would be your vertical projectile motion, graphs of motion, as well as momentum and work energy and power. So just please make sure that you understand that section. And then the second biggest section would be electricity. Okay, so please, electricity, what I mean by that would be electrodynamics, your circuits, as well as what do they call that other section? Electrostatics. Okay, so please just make sure that you get yourself familiar with those sections. Right. Advice for someone who still needs to study the entire syllabus? No ways. Like, how do I study smart and cover all the content within a short period? Just watch the videos, man. I think that's the best thing I can say to you. You know what? Binge. There's nothing else that I can say. Hey, man, you shouldn't have been Riranzu. No, man. Aye. Hi, why did you have to wait so long? Why did you have to wait for the last minute? Man, do better, ne? Okay. Do you have any advice and last minute hacks for paper one? Okay, yes, I did answer that. Mpumile. Is it Mpumi? Yes, Mpumi. Is NSC harder than IB? Man, that's not look, don't even worry too much about that question, right? Whoever is writing IB is writing IB. Whoever is writing NSC is writing NSC. By the way, I wrote both exams. So the first time around when I was doing my Matric, I wrote, what was considered the senior certificate exam at the time. And then the second time around, I wrote IEB. And to be quite honest, they are compatible. In this case, I want you to note that the IB has a slightly different way of asking questions, that would want you to sort of understand English just a little bit more better, but nonetheless, it's the same thing, They say for trials, I had 83% for physical science and 65 for maths, and I'm so nervous this time around. Please don't be nervous. You did very well. Well done, hey? I'll just make sure that I capacitate you and resource you when it comes to that maths. Okay, so you will actually be good. Okay. Picasso says yakhala next week. Yeah, Azkale. Hi sir, can you please do electrostatics? I do have a playlist on electrostatics. Please just make sure that you go and watch that. Ne? Okay. M from Botswana, so that's Sean. Can you do moles in chemistry? Yes, there is. Please go and look at stoichiometry. That's the section that will help you a lot. So do stoichiometry, and thereafter you can do any other chemistry paper, or rather chemistry questions, right? All right, do you have any? You can get memos at the website. Yes, I do have a website. By the way, my website is mlungisinkosi.co.za. I do have past exam questions there as well. Okay, I'm still actually just trying to fine tune the website so that it's user friendly for you and that you can get all the resources that you need. That's why I have not really spoken much about it. But yes, my website is running and it is live. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mlungisi. I enjoy every minute of your videos. Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you. Hey, Picasso, 90, Siba well. Yes, and I think it's possible, hey? I have been getting quite a number of people actually saying that they were able to improve. I mean, one person actually wrote to me and said that they actually moved from 32%, and now they're actually at they got about 70 something for the prelims. And she said, look, I'm going for that distinction, and I think it's possible. Okay, yeah, you have no idea how much these lessons are actually helpful. All right, is it possible to get 80% if I got 40% in mathematics and physical science? Absolutely. If I did not believe it to be possible, I wouldn't even waste my time, going through, the work that I do. You know that I try to simplify these concepts as much as I possibly can. So yes, it is possible. Okay, right. Is it Tsebomotsa? Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Tsebomotsa. Okay, any advice on how to master Euclidean geometry? Okay, please go and watch my videos. I know it sounds like a cliche, right? But please go and watch those. And then what I'll do is that next week I will be publishing quite a number of geometry hacks in a sense. So please look out for those. Okay. Right. I'll make sure, guys, I'll make sure that you guys can thrive when it comes to that exam. Okay. The ones who are writing tomorrow are the ones who wrote May, June this year. No, it's Amanda, this is the IEB exam. Okay. By the way, yeah, for those who are registered for them. Oh yeah, before I forget, for those of you who are upgrading, please make sure that you go and fetch your exam schedules because you are going to be given a new exam number. All right, so you won't be using the same exam number. So please just make sure that you fetch a new schedule before the day of the exam. Okay, right. You don't want to find yourself, being inconvenienced on the day of the exam. So please just make sure, just carry your ID with, so that you can produce it. They give you an exam schedule. All right. Any advice on how to master Euclidean? Okay, I've already answered that. Riranzo, please binge watch the playlist at this point. You can grab as much as possible. Yeah, Nomtandazo, I absolutely agree. Lucky says, I've done all chemistry topics. Hi, Malume, I have given up on electrolytic cell. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm just forcing things. And then look, if you're really finding it difficult, it's, to be quite honest, electrolytic cell is more theory than it is, practice, or than it is, calculations or practical. So in this case, I would say to you, if you're really finding it difficult, forget about it. Okay. Says November harder than the trials? No. So usually the trial exams are more difficult than the final exams. So that's why they're trying to prepare you as much as possible. So they give you the best of the best when it comes to the trials, but the final exam becomes a little bit more easier to tackle. All right, as an upgrading student, is my SBA mark still included in the final? Yes, it is. I think I've already answered this, Ufense. So it is included. But as I said, please don't worry yourself about what you can't control at this point. Just focus on what you can. Right. Can I use IEB exams for revision? Absolutely. I would actually advise it. I think what the IEB exam does is that it really has a way of fine-tuning your ability to answer questions. All right. So yes, absolutely. So those IEB exams that I'm publishing, please just make sure that you also binge on them. Okay. Say I was struggling so much with electricity last year. Your videos helped me because now I get full marks in that section. Yay, Dume! Yes, well done to you. All right. Monday, Nova Kale is crying about Monday the 31st. How do I obtain 7 distinctions? while you study. Right, you make sure that you do as much as possible. Nomthandazo says yakhala la welele. Please do photons and electrons, IEP. We are writing tomorrow. Please check, is it reality Matabata? Please just make sure that you, there's one that I did, I think 2 days ago. Just go to videos, all right? So go onto the channel, go to videos, the video section, just see, I've actually placed them sequentially there, and yeah, just try and watch that as much as possible. And then if you still unsatisfied, please make sure that you go and watch the playlist on what is it, photoelectric effect. Okay, yeah, so I do have that section as well. Mz says yakhala bafo. Okay, maths advice, we'll talk about maths closer to that. Okay, I do want to close this live session. Let me see if there are any important questions. Must I memorize all surface area and volume for calculus? No. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just tell you about the important ones. Okay, so please don't worry too much about that. I heard you write books. Is that true? Look, I'm in the process of it, but I'll tell you that with time. Okay. Please invite others to join this live session. This is great. Hey, it's Fatso. Hey, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback. I was hoping really to be able to answer as many of your questions as possible. Yeah, we appreciate your work, sir. We are blessed to have you as our helper. You are helping a lot. Okay, thank you so much, Lindo Gushe. I really appreciate it. Any advice on parallel plates in electrostatics? Ooh, I realize I probably have not gone through that section. Shoo. Okay, Gabriela, I'm so sorry about this, but yeah, I will try and do it in the future. But at this moment, please forget about it if you still don't understand it. Okay, look, it's not much as well. You still will be able to get a distinction if that's what you're aiming for without that section. Okay, right. I really apologize. I haven't gone through that. Okay. So how do you move from 90 to 100? You just keep going. You just keep going, Fundo, and make sure that you study as much as you possibly can. Do those past exam questions, guys. At this point in time, get away from the textbook. Okay, it will not help as much. Right. In maths, my problem. Okay, please do understand for now. Can I just answer questions that have to do with physical science? And then we'll do the maths obviously closer to that time. So is there any possibility of obtaining 80% in physics if I've obtained level 4 for the whole year? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. As I do say, people have been watching the videos, and by the way, people have been able to, benefit quite immensely from them. All right. I can show you feedback after feedback. So yes, it is possible. Okay. Right. How do you deal with the depression after a bad paper? Ooh, Shadi, this is a very good question, and I feel like, it's one thing that we never prepare you for. You just need to find a way to just move on. Okay. Honestly speaking, I know we always say there's no use crying over spilled milk, but at the end of the day, you just find a way to try and cope. Yeah, just find a way. Just find a way. Just on the day when you come back from the exam, just sleep it off, and then you get up maybe later on, do something that you like, and then you get back again the next day. Okay. All right. Right, I'm trying to hurry on so that we are able to close this section. Okay, what happens if your SBA mark is lower than your final mark? Right, as I did say to you that if your final mark is significantly higher, then they would discard your SBA mark. Okay, so just make sure that you do well for that final. Okay, Sam, quite good in physics, but chemistry is quite a challenge. It dropped my physical science. What can I do to solve this, sir? All right, I will say to you once again, please watch my stoichiometry video and just make sure that you from then just watch videos on the particular sections. I usually find that stoichiometry is, I always say it's the heart of chemistry, and if you understand that section, then you are able to understand the other sections quite easily. Okay. Hi, sir. Thank you for making our studying easier. It is absolutely my pleasure. It is my pleasure. All right. How do I get from 40s actually wanting to get a distinction to the final? Hey, your favorite uncle is here. So please use the resources that I've given you. Okay. Watch the videos. Okay. How do you get better at multiple choice? Practice, practice, practice. Okay, please watch them. I have published quite a number of them. Right, I think many, I will save the live video. Okay, I will do my best to save all of them. How do you deal? Okay, so I've actually answered this, guys. Finals are easy. Okay. Sawubona se. Okay, right. How do you download IEB exams? Okay, so I actually have all right. So what I will do is I will make them available on my website. Ne? I'll try to do this as soon as possible. Yes, I do have someone who works at the IEB that provides me with those exams. But at the moment I will try to get them available to the website as soon as possible. Okay. Ziqalile ziku-loudspeaker. Ziyakhala, ne? Okay. Methi yashaya malume. Okay. All right. KC calculations. Okay. I think when we do chemistry, I'll speak more about that. Okay. Guys, I'm not sure if I'll be able to finish all the comments. Yeah, it is quite a number of comments, but I think safe to say, for those of you who are new to the channel, please, 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 I think this channel is the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to promote myself. I'm saying this because I have a heart for teaching. And what I want to do is to see our nation get better. But even beyond that, I'd love someday to see people thriving, in the areas of maths and science and scarce skills areas, because they've been able to watch, our videos. So all I'm saying, guys, is that for those of you who are writing tomorrow, all of God's best. Please just make it a point that you go to bed early. As I did say, get enough rest. Make sure that you keep yourself hydrated. Please make sure that you also are as rested as possible for that big mountain to climb. But all of God's best, as I said. And yeah, from me, your favorite uncle, I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for watching. Sharp for now. Okay, thank you. Right.